Hi, I'm Timberly with Living Our Priorities, and welcome to the Medical Binder video tutorial. Today we are going to help you set up your binder, and in this tutorial we are going to cover what the binder is and isn't. We are going to cover how to open your files and save the files, the supplies that you need. We will cover in detail the worksheets, including the medical information card. And lastly, we are going to assemble our binder, walking you through step by step. So let's get started. In this section, we are going to cover what the medical binder is and isn't. The medical binder was created to be a one-stop resource for information you need to provide to medical personnel, things like medications or medical history, labs, and tests. Oftentimes we forget these things at home. We don't necessarily bring them with us. And so by having this information in a binder, you can take it with you to the doctors, or if it's requested, you know exactly where to find it. The medical binder is not the place for you to keep your explanation of benefits or billing statements. We keep those in our business file separate when we're taking care of our financial matters for the house. This binder is not for that. This medical binder is specifically so that you can give information related to somebody's medical care. In this section, we are going to cover how to open your files and save them. When you make your purchase, you will receive the Medical Binder Worksheets in a zip file. That is because your file contains 4 separate PDF files. Once you download it, it will show up either on your desktop or in your download folder, however your computer is set up. To unzip the file, you will simply right-click on it. And because I'm using a Mac, you would just click on Open With, and it will unzip the file. If you are using a Windows laptop or computer, you would right-click and then click on Extract All. It will create a folder now that you can open by simply clicking on it. And inside this folder, you will see the 4 separate PDF files. The first PDF are your instructions. If you are watching this tutorial, we are going to cover those in detail. But for those who like to read it, you can print the instructions. You have everything you need. You have the edible medical cards, and we will cover that in detail later on in this tutorial. You also have your personal use license that gives you permission to save these files and use them for every member in your immediate family. And then you have the medical binder document where all of your worksheets and cover sheets are included. Now let's talk about how to save these files. If you are going to be using this just for yourself, then you can simply click on it, edit it, or print it as is if you want to handwrite the worksheets. But if you're planning on using this for each member of your family, then you want to make separate files for each person. So that way, when you go back to edit the information to make changes, you don't have to start all over by typing everyone's information again. So if you want to do that, we will take the medical cards in for example, click on it, and because I'm using a Mac, my option would be to duplicate it. Okay, so all it's going to do is duplicate it and make it a copy. But I would rename this and name it, I will put Timberly Medical Card. That way, this is my card and it will have my information, and I will repeat that process until I have done it for each person in the family, including the medical binder. This way, I can set up a medical binder for each person in the family and make the changes as needed. In this section, we are going to talk about the supplies you need to put your medical binder together. You will of course need to print your medical binder worksheets. You will need a 3-ring binder, some divider tabs, and a pen if you plan on handwriting your worksheets. If you're using the medical binder for just one individual, we have found that a 1-inch binder works perfectly. But if you plan on using the medical binder, just one binder for the entire family, you might want to use something a little larger like a 1.5 or a 2-inch binder. In regards to the section tabs, there are 8 sections to the medical binder. You don't have to use all 8 sections. So as we go through each section in detail, once you determine the amount of sections you plan on using, then those are the amount of divider dividers that you need. In regards to the pen, we prefer an erasable pen. That way, if we need to make a change or edit something, we don't have lines crossed out or have to start all over. So those are just a few suggestions and the supplies you need to get your medical binder started. Section, we are going to cover in detail the medical information cards as well as the medical binder worksheets. Let's begin with the medical information cards. We will go back to the example I showed you earlier when I created a file separate for myself for the medical card. Go into that file and you will notice that there are 4 cards. Now, I created this file under my name because I personally have to carry this card in several places, in my wallet, in my purse, as well as a medical kit that I carry in the event that I need an emergency shot injection and medical personnel can identify it. If you don't need 3 or 4 for yourself, you can actually use one document for up to 4 people. And we're going to show you how to print and use these cards. You will notice that there are 4 cards. You can print it as is. It will print just the way you see it, and you can handwrite your information in. Or you can simply just click on each field and type your information so that when you print the cards, your information is typed. I am going to show you this example by using myself and Andre as an example. So this is the front of the card. When you print these, we do suggest you print pages 2 and 3 because page 1 is the instructions. Print page 2 and 3 front and back. Okay, so this is the front, this is the back. This is where you want to list your medications. Notice that the order of these cards on the back are not the same as the front. That is because when you print front and back, it does print a little differently. But we took some extra measures to help make this easy for you. You will notice we wrote front of card 1, front of card 2. On the back, we've helped you identify. This is the back of card 2, which means Andre's medicine information will be listed on this card. My information, because this is the back of card 1, is listed here. So when you print it, it will print properly. That covers the medical information cards. Now let's move on to the medical binder worksheets. In this section, we are going to cover the medical binder worksheets in detail, including the 8 sections that the medical binder is broken into. This will help you identify which sections you plan to use and where to place these worksheets. We've made it very easy because we strategically place them exactly where they go so there could be no confusion. Before you get started, especially if you plan on typing your information, you might want to make sure you created your files for yourself and each person first. And remember, earlier, you simply do that by clicking on the file, right-clicking it. If you're on a Mac, you can click duplicate, or if you are using Windows, you will do save as and then list the file, the name. So in this example, we are going to go ahead and name this file for Timberly, and this will be my information for my medical binder. Spell my name properly. All right, so let's get started. Go ahead and click on the file. The first thing that comes up, this is your medical binder cover. You will place this on the outside of your binder if you're using a binder that has a sleeve, or you can place this in the inside of your binder. If you are handwriting your worksheets, you would just write your name here. If you are typing, you can go ahead and type, and I like to capitalize our cover. So I just simply type my name and I continue with the worksheets. In section 1, this will be your patient information section. We have provided the worksheets such as the patient information, medical history, medication list, vitamins, and supplement lists. But other items that you could place in this section would be your immunization records and maybe even copies of your insurance cards. So here we have the patient information. This is where you are going to type, if you are going to use the edit field, all your information here. Now you might be saying, I know my date of birth, I know my social security number, but if you were in an emergency situation and a family member or someone needed to provide this information, it would be all there for them, okay? Where it comes to the organ donor, you would just simply click the box if you have it, or if you don't, same with the health directive. Emergency contact, if you have any known allergies. Here is the medical history section. If you have a diagnosis, most of the time doctors want to know what is your diagnosis, when were you diagnosed by it, and who is currently treating you. Any past surgeries, simply type them in here as well. As you can see, if you just move your cursor over to the fields, it gives you the option to edit them. Or again, print as is, and you can fill it in by hand. Family history, the family member, and what medical history did they have. Now we move on to the medication list. Again, all of these worksheets are under the first section, which is patient information. You can write or type your name here, as well as your date of birth. We did this because what if you decide you go to the doctors, they want a list of your medication. You can simply print this or make a copy and hand it to them. It will have your name, your date of birth, and all of your prescription information. You will type the name of your prescription, the dosage you are taking, how often you take it, most importantly, what are you taking it for? You can keep that all here, as well as your vitamin and supplement lists. Again, you can type your name here with your date of birth. That way you can provide this to the doctors as well. That covers section 1. Now we're moving into section 2, which is the important information section. This is where you are going to gather your insurance information, physician information, and keep a medical password log. Let's dive in. The insurance information is where you're going to keep the information about your primary health insurance, the company, phone number, policy, member ID. If you have a secondary insurance, that would go here. Medicare or Medicaid, you would put that information here, or any like disability or long-term care, you can do that here. In addition to that, you have your pharmacy information, your vision insurance, dental insurance, including life insurance for the person that you are currently working on. So if this is my medical binder, then this would be the life insurance that pertains to me. Now we move on to the physician information, and this is where you want to keep a list of all of the doctors that Timberly visits. So the doctors that I use are not necessarily the same doctors that Andre uses. So this is where you will type in or write your primary doctor's information. So whoever is your primary doctor, the name of their practice. So if it's, let's see, what is it called? I can't even think of the name. We'll just say Southwest Medical. Then you can put in their phone number. If you have an email address, their address, you can put that information here. Specialist. This might be like my rheumatologist is Dr. Young. And then I would list her information here. A cardiologist. So any specialist that you have. There are 2 forms. You will notice the first form, it has the primary doctor first, and then it lists all the other specialists with a secondary form for additional specialists. So if you are doing this for a child, their primary may be their pediatrician, and then additional specialists. If you don't need both forms, you just simply use the one that you need. Then you have the medical password log. So this would be if there is a medical password for your labs, for your doctors, for radiology, for your insurance company, anything related to your medical that you have a sign-on and password for, you can keep that here. And that covers section 2. Section 3 will be your medical directive section. So we provided a cover divider cover for this section, but what you want to keep here are several copies of your health directive or your health power of attorney. Now, if you do not have one, you can omit this section. If you don't have one, we want to encourage you to speak with your physician, an attorney, or your local legal form store about how you can establish one. Serving in ministry and having to counsel families, Andre and I have seen way too many families weighed down with the burden of trying to make the right health decision for loved ones. By talking about these things and having a medical directive in place, it will remove that stress and burden unnecessarily. And so if you don't have one, we encourage you to look into it, and this is where you would keep it. We suggest that you keep several copies. That way, if anyone needs it, you have it available to give. The next section is the conversation log section. This is where you want to keep records of conversations you have. We created 2 worksheets. Personally, I just print these and stick them in the binder, and I prefer to write this section because I won't come to the computer to type every conversation I have, and I have several conversations daily with things pertaining to our medical. But we provided 2 worksheets. That way you could print 2. You can print more than that if you feel like you need more and keep it in this section. If you want to type it, you can. Simply put the date and time, who you called, who you spoke to, and the notes from that conversation. We are moving on to the next section, which is the symptom trackers. Your symptom trackers, we have provided 6 different symptom trackers. Some people track their mood and pain, blood sugar, blood pressure, migraines, food sensitivity, and then we created a blank tracker. That way you can customize it to how you see fit. If you have other trackers that you have purchased in the past or will be purchasing in the future, you can also place those in this section. We do want to point out that all of the trackers are edible with the exception of 2. One of those is the mood and pain tracker. That is because when we tried to make it edible, you could not see the faces or the numbers for you to be able to identify how you're feeling and pain level. So this particular tracker is intended to be printed and handwritten. All of them are intended to be printed and placed in your binder. The blood sugar tracker you can edit, or you can just fill out by hand. Again, it is edible, so you can do that. You can type whatever you need here. The blood pressure tracker as well, you can type your information in, print, and fill in by hand. Same with the migraine tracker. Your food sensitivity is one that you cannot edit. It is, again, just for you to print and write. This is the blank symptom tracker. What I want to point out here is that if you want to track something that is not included in one of the worksheets, you can do a custom tracker here. Again, you can fully edit this to make it whatever you want, but this lineup here is for you to type whatever it is that you are tracking. So whatever it is you decide to track, just label it here and then to complete the form just like you would any of the others. The next section is your appointment summaries. This is the cover sheet that we are providing for this section of your medical binder. And this is where you will cover or keep doctor appointment summaries, urgent care summaries, hospital stays, therapy summaries, mental health summary evaluations. This is where you want to keep all of those summaries. The next section will be your lab results section. You want to keep most recent blood tests or pathology reports. We tend to like to keep labs at least for the year. Each year you can empty it and keep the most recent. And then the last section are your test results. So these are test results ordered by your physician, whether it's x-rays, CAT scans, PET scans, PT scans, MRIs, biopsies, sleep studies, all of those test results you can keep here. Now, again, you can keep up to the last year. For us personally, with Andre being diagnosed with Parkinson's, when we had visited a new neurologist, he actually wanted, when he was first diagnosed, those tests. So we do keep certain tests, even though they're older than a year, we do keep those on hand for certain diagnoses, because that is important to the doctors as far as when they were first diagnosed, what did it look like then, so they can compare to what it is now. So these are all the different sections and the worksheets that we just covered in detail. Since we went through them, I'm sure you had some time to identify which ones you're going to actually use. And now it's time to actually put the binder together.
Okay, now that we've printed our worksheets, we now need our binder and our dividers so that we can put our medical binder together. So let's get started. Okay, so I took my cover and placed it at the front of my binder, and I've already placed my dividers in because I am using all 8 sections. And with the type of binders I use, or divider covers I use, I like it because it's a clear view, so you could see the titles without having to put labels on the tabs. This title sheet, we actually provide it for you, which is on the page of this tutorial as an instant download if you decide to use these dividers. So now we're just going to take all of the worksheets and place them in the dividers under the right sections. So I'm taking everything under the patient information section, as well as my cover. So that is section 1. Now we're going to do the important information section. And I'm going to take all of my worksheets that fall under this section. And again, we put the worksheets in order to make it easy for you. The directive, again, it is just the cover. This is where you will stick copies of your medical directive there. The next section is our conversation log. So I have my conversation log cover sheet as well as my conversation log worksheet. So as I have conversations, I can jot them down. We are now going to go to the trackers. And I have the cover as well as all the trackers. Now, I printed all the trackers to keep in my binder. You don't have to. You can use just the ones you're going to use. We're going to do our appointments. So I have the cover for appointment summary. This is where I will put all of the summaries from the doctor visits will go in this section. We're going to install the labs section cover. This is where I will keep all of blood work, pathology reports, and this is the test results section cover where I will keep all of my tests. So there you go. In less than 3 minutes, we were able to get all of that done.
Well, there you have it. We have walked you through step by step how to set up your medical binder. You might want to bookmark this page just in case you need to refer to it sometime later in the future. And if you have any additional questions regarding setting up the binder or the worksheets, please email us at info@livingourpriorities.com.